All right. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the Double Scoop podcast. That's the working title. I don't know if I'm going to change it or just leave it super generic like that. But this is episode 2. Episode 1, I had up for a second. I may put it back up. It just had like all of my bookmarks and stuff in it. I just thought that was a little weird. So I've cropped it out to where it doesn't have that anymore in this one. And we will see how it goes. It looks fine to me on the screen, I guess. But I'll play around with it. I'm just on the Double Scoops blog website, which is slightly out of date. This just has, this one's from February. So this one's a little bit older, but I'm working on getting the other ones updated. I'm just having a couple issues. But I will get those done very quickly. Last week we talked a lot about Ibanez at NAMM and a couple artists switching who they worked with. And so I wanted to start off this week talking about, and I'm just going to reference guitar.com articles, and I have a couple from Music Radar. I guess that's okay. I see some people that just literally talk over them scrolling through a website. So I'm going to do that for now. I'm still unsure about how I'm going to get the non-viewing listeners to participate or like help them out. I feel like that does a little bit better whenever you're like fielding Q&A and stuff like that. I don't know, but I'm just going to review the news and just kind of point out some stuff that I thought was interesting. But I thought I'm going to talk a lot about ESP today. Like I did Ibanez last week, I'm going to do ESP this week. So I thought this was pretty interesting with Stephen Carpenter being endorsed by two different brands of guitars. Like you would think that, you know, you have your one and you're pretty exclusive to that brand. But Stephen Carpenter from the Deftones has been with ESP for a long, long time. I mean, I don't know any previous, company that he worked for. So, but yeah, it says long-standing partnership with ESP. I mean, this is all I've ever seen him play, but I'm not the hugest Deftones fan. I know there's some older albums that I'm just not familiar with that he could play something else on. But yeah, this says that Kiesel announced that he will be partnering with both of them. And so I wanted to start off with this because Devin Townsend from the Devin Strapping Young Lad and the Devin Townsend Project, I guess. He has went this route too in a weird way. Like, so his main guitar company is Framus. He's been with Framus for a long time. They're very nice to him, according to him. They make awesome guitars for him, and that's, you know, what I've seen him play a bunch as well. And he had, I believe, a Kiesel made, and it's a headless guitar. And he worked with them, and he talked to Framus, and now he's also endorsed for his quote-unquote headless guitars or Kiesel guitars. And so that's super interesting that this is kind of the same thing, where if it doesn't have a headstock, it's a different kind of guitar, I guess. I have no idea. For 30 years. Okay, yeah, so he's been with ESP for a long time. It's he will continue to endorse ESP, but he is getting a I don't know if he's getting a signature or if they just built him a guitar and now he's like partnered with them and he's going to promote it. But he's got a love for the headless Kiesels. So it's kind of interesting that this is at least the second person that I've seen have the headless guitar endorsement and the regular, you know, headstock guitar endorsement. I don't know if Kiesel is just like okay with anybody kind of endorsing their stuff and letting them stick with who they're currently with. And I wonder if it's like these people that have long-standing relationships with their current endorser, they're totally fine with like, yeah, you've been with me for like, you know, Stephen Carpenter here has been with ESP for 30 years. I wonder if they're like, yeah, you can stay with us and just play a little bit different guitars. And Kiesel isn't going to be like, oh, you have to exclusively play Kiesels. Like, I don't think Kiesel would do that. They seem pretty smart about what they're doing and how, the quality of the guitars that they're putting out clearly are drawing some big name people. And so I think that they know that they don't have to try to wrap these guitar players up into like deals or whatever. They just be like, yeah, play our guitars. Like, we would love that. That's just bodes well for them. And this is like positive news for Kiesel too. So it's just, tenfold what they're doing. So I thought that piece was super interesting for, more guitar players to get multiple guitars and be endorsed by them. Like, lots of guitar players play different guitars, but a lot of them have like their main, brand. And it's cool that you can kind of get to, obviously these are both 7 strings, but you can get a variation of a guitar and not have to be outside of your home brand. Like, you can go to that other brand and say, hey, I want this guitar, and they'll make it for you. And you have a little bit of exclusivity to that, because I think you get treated a lot better. Like, you can go get something that you want instead of something off the rack with like a Fender or a Gibson or something like that. Like, you just have to make whatever that is work for you instead of getting something custom and having that relationship with the manufacturer. I think this is going to be more common instead of just like the big name, one guitar player kind of person. And then speaking of signature guitars, I was going to go into some of these that ESP OTD put out. What is this one still called the Sparrowhawk? Yeah. So you've got his LP shape. It's basically their Eclipse, and then the Sparrowhawk. They're both LTD versions, but it's vintage silver. Just looks like the vintage silver Sunburst. So it looks like vintage silver burst, basically. I also saw this. I didn't know that Bill Kelliher was, had a signature pickup with Mojo Tone. I thought that was kind of interesting because, they're not, like, they're a big brand, but they're not like a specific brand. Like, they make a ton of stuff. And I just thought it was interesting that I saw that on their front page that, he was doing a signature pickup with them. I thought that was pretty cool. But I've played both of these, not these iterations, but versions of his signature. This is actually surprisingly comfortable and fun to play. Big fan of it. I don't know if I like how yellow the finish is. I would like to see one in person. But thought those were cool. And then, I might absolutely butcher his name. Well, I guess we'll get to it. Yeah, Javier Reyes. His signature, I think it's a 9-string. No, it's 8-string. Well, I could look here instead of counting the pegs. 27-inch baritone scale, 8-string double locking Floyd Rose trim. That's wicked. But he plays with Animals as leaders, and he has his own band called Metestis. I don't know, but it's good. It's like kind of fusion jazz, fun music, and like the hammer-on tapping kind of stuff. Groovy, big fan. And then let's see. We'll just do the rest of them too. I just saw those two and wanted to talk about them, and I have a couple more ESP things to go through. So signature for Gary Holt, pretty cool. I like the red and black. I like these. These are like kind of the Gibson Super 400 inlays. I like those. And Lars Friedrichsen of Rancid. Looks like he gets a signature. And Nurgle from Behemoth, he is getting 2 signatures. Yeah, there's a more affordable version, which is cool. I think ESP did this they've done this for Metallica and a couple other big name like heavy metal guys. They'll give them like you can get like the $1,000 LTD, or you can get like the $400 to $500 LTD. I think that's pretty cool. Oh, and then Stephen Carpenter again, his telly-shaped 7-string. This one looks kind of cool. I always liked the other one here, this pink one. I think that one just looks better. But yeah, so those are some signatures that ESP LTD released from NAMM, and then they also put out some Japanese-built E2s, and a couple more LTDs. And I thought these were pretty cool. I mentioned it in the last episode, but I really like Japanese-made stuff. I think it's made with a little bit higher quality. But they have a couple models here, and let's bust into ESP's main website and see if they have anything. Yeah, so there's the Gary Holt. Oh yeah, there's a new Vulture and a new Snakebite for James Hetfield. I don't know why he needs another signature guitar, but let's go. And then Kirk Hammett's V. I was going to talk about that too down here. That's not even his V. What is... here it is. I didn't have the right one put up. Yeah, this is it. Oh, that's what the homepage video was, is his V. Oh, this is there's the 8-string. Yeah, Javier Reyes. He plays super well. I think he should have as much popularity, I guess, as Tosin does. And we'll get to him in a minute, because I'm going to go over the new 6-string Kaizen that came out at NAMM. We'll review that as well. But yeah, solid stuff from ESP. Lots of cool stuff from NAMM. They also did all of these like one-off exclusives from there, and I mean, they look incredible. I wish they had a photo gallery. Maybe I could have pulled that up before I got this started. But yeah, the Kirk Hammett Flying V. That was the last thing I was going to talk about. I did see there's a Bradley Hall video where he talked about apparently Kirk Hammett didn't like something that he said. Who knows? I thought it was just kind of funny that like it doesn't help Kirk Hammett to even say anything like that, to say that, oh, I'm better than these YouTube guitarists. Like, it's and this is, I guess, classic Metallica. Like, they're behind the curve on stuff like the Napster thing. Like, I get that. Like, that was weird and scary for the music industry way back when, and the whole music sharing and file sharing stuff that was happening. And it's like, you don't want to talk crap about like the next wave of, guitar players, because there's been this huge boost, I guess, to like this. A ton of people have picked up guitar here recently in the past like 3 years. It's just been an explosion in it, and a lot of people like got into it and they're getting out of it or whatever. But a lot of people are going to YouTube and learning and making their own stuff. Like, that's kind of what I'm doing. But I don't think you want to alienate yourself from these kind of people, because if you get the YouTube mob going in one direction, then it's not going to be good for you. Plus, I listened to the new album. Well, I listened to like half of it. I couldn't. It's like a lot of the songs sounded the same. I know everybody loves to just crap on Metallica, but I feel like there's some stuff that they put out that was good, and then some stuff they put out is just not good. Like the first song, the Lux Eternal song, like that was awesome. And then I don't know. I just wasn't into. I got to this Crown of Barbed Wire song, and I was like, I'm done. There's just like a lot of just E minor thrash riffs or whatever. It wasn't super creative, and I think they're like afraid to go. I don't know what they're afraid of. I don't know Metallica, but I would think that they're like, oh, we're afraid to go back to doing acoustic stuff or whatever. I don't know. They're like, we have to be heavy, but we don't change tunings. We're just going to play in E all the time. Like, I think if they varied that a little bit, maybe it would sound a little different. And I'm saying all that because I haven't listened to the entire album, so I could be just talking on my booty. Who knows? Okay, so all that stuff, the V, Kirk Hammett, just don't say that you're better than people and then not show it by playing, stuff that you're better at. Oh, yeah, and then this was, we're talking about a lot of ESP. This was a custom guitar that they had made that was at a booth at NAMM. It's all carved wood. It looks amazing. It did look, okay, there it goes. That looks awesome. I mean, it's very simple as far as configuration or whatever, but obviously all the work is done in the wood carving. It doesn't say anything else about it other than it was just at the exhibit. And I think I watched a couple walkthroughs of NAMM and I saw it. It looked really insane. Okay, we'll talk about Rabia in a second, but Ernie Ball, who partnered with Tosin Abasi, who also has Abasi guitars, they concepted the Kaizen, and this is the 6-string version. So they had a 7-string version, fan frets with the multi-scale trim, which is very unique to this guitar. I think I might be wrong, but I think it is the first multi-scale trim system or something to work with the fan frets. It's still insanely expensive. They still want $3,800 for it. I would have to play one to even know if it's even close to worth that. I mean, I was thinking like Majesty, $2,700 or something like that. That was the first time I've seen the price. I knew the 7-string was pretty expensive, but you think the 6-string they would bring the price down a little bit more. I think the 7-string was over $4,000, but you think you would get a little bit less on it, unless they're it says 60 per color, so maybe they're actually not gonna make a ton of these. Maybe this is just like hey, we're gonna do this and we're gonna be done with it. So yeah, that was something I wanted to cover coming from the Animals as Leaders area. Thought that was cool for Tosin Abasi. And then the other Ernie Ball news is that Rabia Masad is now an endorsed artist with them, which I think is cool. That seems to be a pretty logical jump for him to go from Chapman to Ernie Ball Music Man. I feel like Ernie Ball Music Man is doing everything right, and they put out awesome guitars. I played a really nice Sabre like a year ago, I guess. I'm trying to relate myself in any sort of capacity here, but it was a nice guitar. I didn't overly love it or anything, but it was fun to play. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense because I feel like the guitars even look very similar. This obviously isn't his custom. This is maybe something that he had put together, but not in the sense of a signature guitar. So maybe it'll look more like this, but he's a big fan of the telly shape. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes out with. But Rabia is a really good player. Some of the stuff that he will put together is very, very interesting and just kind of, piques your ear a little bit. And I just love listening to a lot of stuff that he's done. The Fire by the Silos by Tosca was really good. I like that stuff. It's like groovy, and then his solo stuff is fun, and he does really good YouTube reviews. So it's interesting to see what he will come out with, and he obviously has a huge following from YouTube, from that whole side. So hopefully he puts out something good and people like it. That would be awesome for him, because I feel like nowadays the people that sell signature guitars better are these YouTube people. Like you put a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old in a guitar store, are they going to go for this, Kirk Hammett V? I must have closed the tab. Are they going to go for that? Or are they going to go for somebody that they see on YouTube who has a signature guitar, whose video they just watched? Like Kirk Hammett has got some media company that's posting photos for Metallica, and then he has like his own personal account, I guess. But somebody else that's in that game, like they're not known from something else, they're known from the platform that they post on, and they come out with something. Like you're obviously going to see that, and you, like I said, if you put a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old in a guitar store, they're probably going to notice this guy's signature before Kirk Hammett's signature. Now that might not totally be true across the board, but I think that these guys deserve credit and room on the shelf, and I think they're gonna sell guitars. Like I think that looks like a weird Jared Dines version of his signature. I would love to know the actual numbers on some of the YouTube guitar player signatures and how well they sold. I know the Rick Beato, but his was pretty unique. I feel like his was pretty unique. I think it sold really well. All right, to close out at least the stuff that I have on guitar.com, I was just going to cover this 1981's. This is probably this is Double Scoop newsletter level stuff, but 1981's is finally putting out a second pedal, and it's called the LVL Non-Transparent Overdrive. So, honestly, this is going to go in the newsletter, so I'm just going to kind of skip this, but look out for that. It'll come out next Friday. If you haven't, you can go to the bottom here, and I'm going to dress this up to where it's a little bit more user interaction, a little bit more functionality. Get rid of this ugly scroll bar. Who put that there? So, but this is, something that I halfway built. I repurposed it from another application that I found, and then, built this app. So I feel better about it because it's something that I made. But you can subscribe here. It'll come from Sendinblue. Just put your email and say you want to receive them, because you have to do that now to do any sort of email marketing. But yeah, you can go there, Double Scoop, blog.vercel.app. Maybe I'll get a real domain very soon, but this is just hosted for free off Vercel. But you can come read some of the old articles, and all the links still work, I believe. So yeah, you can subscribe there, and I'll cover the 1981's pedal in that on Friday of next week. I had some stuff in here. Yeah, the Humboldt Simplifier, the Mark II came out. I've heard so many good things about this pedal. I was going to get one, ended up getting something else, which I'm not totally in love with, but it's been doing the job. But this basically is a kind of a simulated guitar amp with a simulated speaker, and you can shape the speaker. You can put it in a certain location, like digitally, I guess. It has reverb, and it also has really good I/O to run it into a mixer or run it into your interface, whatever you want to do. It's got reverb. I think the old Mark I didn't have reverb. I think you had to get the bigger one, or maybe it had reverb. I think the other one had 2 channels, and then you could also toggle on and off the reverb with that. So I thought that was kind of neat. These things are, what was it, $350? Not so bad. It only does one thing, or I should say it does 6 things. I think it has 3 amp modes and then 3 cab modes, so you could get any combination of that. But it is a little bit more limited. But I've heard great things. I feel like if you do a couple things really well, your pedal does pretty good for that. I swear I had something else on Music Radar to talk about. Let's see. I talked about these UA pedals. We'll talk about the Lizard Queen. So I've already seen these going for $600. So not this one, the big box one. This one already going for $600 on Reverb. They were $350 for pre-order, or maybe not pre-order, but initial launch sale. I watched some of the stream for that, maybe half of it. Pretty interesting, pretty funny. But they did a release with the big box with Electro Harmonics. I mean, they're all with Electro Harmonics, but it was like the old school big box, big muff style enclosure. They did 300 of those, and then a couple of them are black, and so those are even rarer. And then you have the just kind of nano enclosure, standard issue, $100. They sound pretty cool. Be interesting to hear like more of a full sound demo. But I mean, $99 for, it's the exact same circuit. It's not through hole. I think it's like SMD or whatever it is to get it all in there. But these are through hole. These are legit components being picked out and soldered in. So that's kind of cool. And I think it would be, it is worth it at the $350 for that, for them to be slowing down production and putting all that in there by hand and making these. That's pretty cool. But I mean, you can still get the $100 one if you want the the one like that. And there was, I swear I had something else pulled up over here. But, yeah, that's kind of most of what I wanted to talk about for, I think, this episode. I'm quickly doing a scroll search to see if there was something else that I wanted to cover. It might have been... It was the ESP guitar. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was all I had. Okay, well, yeah. So most of the stuff I wanted to talk about was this. The guitar players getting 2 different endorsees. Like, you usually have your pick and your guitar, and you just get one of everything. But seeing that now is pretty cool. Lots of just news about people, but nothing too interesting. More about, I just like talking about the gear associated with the people, not so much what they got going on personally or whatever. Just like talking about whenever people come out with new stuff and what makes their stuff kind of stand out and makes it more interesting. Like I said, last week we did all the Ibanez Electrics signatures, and I thought those were awesome. Oh, let's run through this really quick. Mateus Asato has a new signature with Sir. He's been with Sir for a good while. I think I saw that on YouTube. But yeah, his signature guitars always look really nice. They're not overdone. They're just like mostly gold hardware and just a simple finish. So that looks very nice. And Sir guitars, I've always heard, are really nice. I don't think I've ever actually played one. Maybe sometime in the future. But I've never heard anything bad about them. Just expensive, nice guitars. So that's what you kind of want. It seems to fit his style. So good for him. That's cool. All right. I think that's going to do it for me today. Not quite as long as I wanted to go, but I just kind of pulled up some articles and started streaming. So we'll see how this one does. I'm going to maybe review it, and I'm going to try to do this again in 2 weeks, and maybe I'll have a better fleshed out show flow. Like I said, this is only the second time. The first time, I may or may not put it up. I still haven't decided, but I might not, just because you can see my not thumbnails, my bookmarks, and I just don't want anybody being weird. So I might try an incognito tab, but I feel like this also fills up the screen a little bit more, and then I can put my logos at the top, and we'll let that ride. But once again, subscribe to the Double Scoop. Go to the website and just scroll to the bottom, and you put in your email. I send out that newsletter every other week, and it has a more condensed version of what is going on here. I just kind of tell you about the gear that's released, how much it cost, and a quick blurb about the features. It's just something that I would want myself, just like, hey, here's the stuff that came out, buy it or don't. Like, that's kind of how I would want information given to me, so I just kind of do that, send it out into the world. And then this is also brought to you by the guitar pedals that I build, the Knob Shop. You can go to thenobshop.com, look at all the pedals. I have 4 new ones coming out in like 2 weeks. They're all the same, but they're 2 different colors. And I'll be having my first like in-person event where I'll be selling stuff face-to-face with people. That'll be interesting. So I'm excited about that. Got to get those pedals done before that. But yeah, you can go over there and support me that way. But there's sound demos for everything as well, I think. But if you see something and you want to know more or have any questions, I can make that happen. Just shoot me a message. You can follow me at Double Scoop Newsletter and at the Knob Shop on Instagram. Those are the only social medias that I have, but you can go look through there, see anything that you like. The Double Scoop Instagram could be better. I would rather do this than post on Instagram, just for news sake, because if you try to post every single little bit of news, you're going to go crazy, and there's not a good way to automate it. Whatever, rambling now, so I'm going to cut it off, and I will see you guys next week.